and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time for our Game Week 5 episode of 100 Experts, the video series where I ask 100 FPL experts what they are doing this game week to see if we can learn anything from the trends that we find out. Guys, if you enjoy this video, please do drop a like. Can we shoot for 1,500 likes on this video? That would be amazing to let me know that you guys are still enjoying this kind of content, and do subscribe if you are new around here as well. Let's meet our experts. So a massive shout out to the 100 top FPL managers that helped me out this season with our data. This week, we've got a lot of people, as always, and they're all doing different things. It's very, very interesting. We have actually got some captaincy decisions this week. It's not all on Erling Haaland anymore. We've got a little bit of a spread here, which I'm excited to share with you, and some interesting moves as well. So let's first of all get an overview. So 41% of our experts are making one transfer this week. 10% are making two transfers. We've got no one making more than two though. So no one using three or more transfers. We do have 4% using their wildcards, which I imagine is making a lot of transfers. So just like last week, we had 4% last week. We've got 4% again this game week. We are starting to see the first wildcards come out among our top FPL managers. So don't feel too bad if you are forced into using your wildcard for whatever reason. The top managers are doing it as well, at least a little bit, but at the same time the majority are not, so there's no pressure if you don't feel like you want to. We have also got 45% not making a transfer at all, which is pretty high. This is much higher than average, so this may be one of those game weeks where actually you don't want to make a transfer at all. It's one of those game weeks where maybe we just want to hold on one more week and see what's going on. There's not been any major injuries or any crises over the international break so far anyway, so let's see what happens there. But don't make a transfer if you don't feel like you need to, but there are still some interesting ones going around the grounds. So first of all, let's have a look at the most popular Game Week 5 transfers in the world. This is among all FPL managers, all 10 million plus of them. What are they up to this week? Well, they're buying Heung-min Son. They're buying Heung-min Son quite a lot, but he's not the only player that's being heavily transferred in. Julian Alvarez and Maddison are also higher up there, followed by the likes of Romero and Ferguson as well. So we got a decent amount of players being heavily transferred in. The question is, do our experts agree with these overall transfer trends? And I can tell you, not really. No, they really don't. There's a lot of players on this list that our experts don't really like at all. So first of all, which ones do they like? Son? Pretty obvious. A lot of people are going to be bringing in Son this week. It doesn't matter who you are. You can see the ability that Son has. Playing as a striker for Spurs is going to be very beneficial. Maddison again there, and Udogie. So the Spurs players, they are very, very popular among our experts as well as the overall player base. And we've got our knee here. It's actually been transferred in by a few of our experts as well. Looking to go a little bit differential with the big man from Nottingham Forest playing against Burnley this game week. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Let's see how that goes. It's definitely an interesting transfer. It's definitely one that's differential. Will it pay off or not? I'm not exactly sure, but there are some players here that there is no interest whatsoever from our experts. Zero of our managers buying these players, and some even selling them. And that is Romero, Ferguson, Mbumo, Areola, and Gusto. Now, Romero is pretty obvious why. Udogie is just seen to be the better pick among top FPL managers. Big FPL managers, they prefer Udogie for his attacking threat. Romero's got a couple of goals so far this season, but it's not likely that that's going to continue too much. Ferguson here as well, obviously picking up an injury whilst everyone was transferring him in. He picked up an injury, and we don't know if he's going to be available or not for sure for Game Week 5. So maybe he does become a little bit more popular if we get confirmation about his fitness. But right now, yeah, the experts don't like him. And Mbumo, not really the game week to bring him in, playing against Newcastle next. But I have to admit to you guys, a lot of our top managers, probably about 25 to 30%, already have Mbumo in their team. So that's going to be one of the reasons why he's not being brought in. But if you don't have him right now, this is not necessarily a week where you have to get him in. No new FPL managers among our top 100 experts are bringing in Mbumo. So there's no new owners of him, but there are plenty of owners of him already. So that needs to be noted. Areola, terrible fixture against Man City, no surprise there. And Gusto is actually expected to potentially be out this game week or just be on the bench because Reece James is going to be back. At the best case scenario, you may be at one more game week out of Gusto before Reece James comes back. So not really worth a transfer. Experts are just not feeling this one at all. In fact, some are actually selling Gusto this week and going for some other players because there's just not much confidence that Gusto is going to get much game time going forward. Unless, of course, Reece James gets injured again. But that's an entirely different discussion. Our expert transfers out go as follows. Well, Bulldog, yeah, this was a surprise to me. I'm sure it's a surprise to you as well, that Bulldog is actually the most transferred out player among our top FPL managers. Now, there is not too much difference here. There doesn't seem to be one big standout transfer out really here, because we've got Bulldog on 6 transfers out. We've got Foden and João Pedro there at 5 transfers out each. Foden is interesting because I feel like Foden is not a must-sell player, but, you know, if you're looking to get some of those big midfielders like Madison or Son or whoever, then obviously someone has to be sacrificed, and it looks like Foden is begun to be that guy. You know, it's not Rashford so much, it's not Bruno Fernandes. We've got Rashford on 3 transfers out. Bruno Fernandes, I believe, is 1 transfer out among our 100. So they are being transferred out a little bit, but Foden seems to be the preferred player to sacrifice if you do have him in your team. We've got a Stupinian here, a couple of transfers out from him. The rest of them, it's not really much. There's not really any strong trends here. Bowen, Gabriel, Pickford, and Watkins complete our transfer out list. So yeah, not strong trends in terms of who to transfer out. It really depends who you want to bring in. It's going to kind of define who you take out, I guess. There's no priority sell this week. Well, the transfers in, we have got Heung-min Son at the top. Yes, he's number 1, 11 transfers in for him. So, you know, we're looking at, out of the managers making a transfer this week, we're looking at 20% plus kind of bringing Son in this week. So he is probably going to be that one player who is the highest priority transfer in if you don't have him already. So, yeah, it's only 11% though, well, 11 out of the 51 transfer making managers. So I guess that's not ridiculously high. It's not like it's an absolutely must buy, but he's certainly a player who is in the interest of our top managers. Botman and Udogie coming in there in second place joint. Each of them 6 transfers in, so maybe some people looking to get some new defenders in their team. Botman is a really interesting one because he's one of the most transferred out defenders in FPL this game week among the overall player base. But the experts, I love it when this happens. I love it when the top FPL managers kind of have a completely different viewpoint as the rest of the players, because often that is our way of identifying kind of trends and ways we can go in on certain players that give us a big advantage over the overall player base. The overall player base are selling Botman because they think, well, I mean, maybe he's going to be injured. He should be fit for this game week. Maybe he hasn't scored very many points so far this season. Yes, that's true, but Newcastle's fixtures are about to get a whole lot better. So this is a really, really good example of where the experts have identified a player that the rest of the FPL player base are just not talking about. So congrats anyone who is thinking about Botman right now. You know, you're clearly ahead of the game. Udogie obviously has got a very nice fixture this week, and we've got the likes of Madison here as well. Like I say, the Spurs players are popular this week among top FPL managers. Morris, that's an interesting one, isn't it? 5 transfers in for him. Obviously, he's got the double game week coming up in game week 7. And Trippier, another player heavily transferred out by the overall player base because of the poor points from Newcastle so far. But our experts are looking at Newcastle. They're saying, we like the underlying numbers. We like the way what we've seen from Newcastle so far this season. And we think in the future, we are going to get points from those Newcastle defenders. Fabian Schär was interestingly bought in by one of our experts as well. So the Newcastle defenders are a trend. They are coming in. We've got a couple other Newcastle players kind of lower down in the list that I'm not going to show you because they're not a trend, but kind of odd, like Gordon, Isak, like 1 transfer in for each of those players. But we have also got Awani, of course, Diaby, if you fancy a new 6.5 million midfielder in your team, and Leno seems to be the goalkeeper of choice as well. Julian Alvarez has got 2 transfers in incidentally as well, but we'll leave it there. Son is the big man to bring in, and if you want a defender, Botman and Udogie seem to be the guys to bring in. So with all of that said, like I say, you don't have to make a transfer this week, but I do have some suggestions for you if you do want to make a transfer based on our data from our experts. So, if you can afford it, Foden to Son seems to be the play, but we could also say any kind of midfielder you have in your FPL team right now that you're not totally confident in, then maybe they could move to Son instead. But like I say, players like Saka, Rashford, Bruno, these kind of players that a lot of our experts own right now, they are not being sold. They are not being sold at all. Neither is like Mbumo. He's another popular player in midfield among our experts. So if you have any of those players, maybe it's not so appealing to go for a Son or a Madison as well, but you know, if you do have Foden, maybe you could sacrifice him. If you've got Martinelli, maybe you can sacrifice him as well. You've got Richarlison, maybe you could sacrifice him. But the idea is going for the likes of Son and Maddison. These are our top midfield picks for this game week, our top players to bring in. We have got Bulldog being transferred out to kind of boost the bench, make the bench a little bit stronger, and Botman and Udogie seem to be the big replacements there. So if you want to kind of improve your bench a little bit, have those defenders to rotate a little bit easier, Bulldog is not really a very good option to rotate in and out of your team right now. So maybe a nice cheap Botman or Udogie could do the job instead. João Pedro is being transferred out, as we know. Confidence in him at an all-time low. Manchester United next. It's not exactly the easiest fixture, but we have got Carlton Morris and Awani as the transfers in there. So if you've got João Pedro, you can maybe afford to go for Awani, then fair enough. If you could afford to go for Morris, fair enough as well. Some people will be looking to transfer out Jackson, though I should say our experts are not transferring out Jackson, and pretty much all of them own him, and none of them are really transferring him out. So yeah, it really would be more of a João Pedro to Morris, João Pedro to Awani, rather than a Jackson to those kind of players. So I wouldn't really go for that by looking at our data. Another Brighton player here, Estupinian. A few people transferring him out in order to get Trippier. If you can afford to do that, again, that might be a really nice move that sets you a little bit ahead of the pack, gets you one game week in front of a lot of people who will be looking to bring in Newcastle defenders very, very soon. But our experts are getting ahead of it. And finally, who can forget our captaincy? And I said there was a little bit of a split here, and I wasn't lying. Compared to most game weeks, this is pretty low for Erling Haaland. It really is. Apart from game week 2, where we saw a few people captaining Salah, it's pretty much been a case where Erling Haaland has dominated these numbers, being at 90, 95% plus every game week among our experts. So 78%, even though in previous seasons we might have said 78% captaincy is pretty high. And let's be honest, it still is pretty high. We're still talking about 4 out of 5 of our experts going for Haaland as the captain. There are other options, and it is very rare that we're able to say that these days. Maddison coming in at second with 14%. You guys probably expected to see Son there, but actually it's more like Maddison, and that might be partially due to ownership. A lot more of our experts have Maddison in their team compared to Son owners. So yeah, maybe that is something you could think about doing if you really want to go differential. You don't fancy Erling Haaland against West Ham. We have got these Spurs guys against Sheffield United, and we know that's a very good fixture at home for them. We also do have one person going for Salah against Wolves, which I'm surprised is not more than 1%, to be honest. If you asked us kind of a year ago, would you captain Salah against Wolves or Haaland against West Ham, you would probably imagine that this split would be a lot closer, but just one person going for Salah, which maybe is a sign of what people kind of think about Salah these days, like how he's kind of considered in kind of the top FPL assets to own. He's nowhere really near Haaland anymore. Be really interested to hear what you guys think about that one. Do you expect to see Salah this low this game week? And what do you think it's going to be like going forward? Do you think Salah could come back into the conversation a little bit more? Because recently, he's just not been getting the numbers in these videos at all. He's not been really getting very much love at all, particularly since that Bournemouth fixture in game week 2. Aside from that, Salah is being sold. He's not being captained. What is going on there? It's really, really interesting to see how FPL is changing a little bit in that way. But like I say, guys, if you're looking for the sensible captain this game week, it is still Erling Haaland. But that doesn't mean you can't afford to go a little bit different. We've got enough of a percentage here on Maddison and Son to justify saying, okay, these are trends. These are not just a coincidence. These are not just a couple of rogue managers. These are actually a decent amount of people trying to go for something a little bit different. So if you fancy doing that is absolutely fine to go for. Haaland as your first choice. If you want something different, Maddison and Son are definitely going to be options for you as well. Like I say, guys, if you did enjoy this one, let's shoot for 1,500 likes on this video so I know that you guys still like this series. Make sure you subscribe if you are new around here. Check out Fantasy Football Hub for a free trial to get full access down in the description. And aside from that, why not check out another video? There's one linked right there. It might be a really good one. It's probably by Shellkeeper Void, and I know you guys like that series, so do go check that one out as well. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching. Team selection video coming tomorrow, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.